Hello everyone, this is Zach from Average Joe Warhammer. It's just going to be a bit of a quick video today. I'd like to talk about kit bashing and what makes a good kit bash, and how to get in the right mindset and what you should be looking for when you do a kit bash. So I've got a couple of my own models here to kind of use as examples. This is my World Eater's Apostle or Dark Apostle and his disciples. We've got a Tyranid Harpy, and we've got my Kroot Cold Star Commander. So this is kind of like a good, bad, great of kit bashing in my opinion here. So I'll just start with, so one of the big things with kit bashing for me is that it can kind of help fill holes in an army or fill holes in a roster. Games Workshop is really good about giving us lots of options, lots of models to use for our armies. But especially for those more niche factions, there's just a lot of room to come up with other ideas or things that maybe you wish you had that you didn't. And kit bashing can really help you do that. So, and it also it's adding flavor, it's adding personality to the army, right? So, really look at what units you have and what units you wish you have, and how you can make things that tie the whole army together and make it more cohesive and make sense. If you're doing this on, for an army, and maybe not necessarily if it's just a one-off model. So for my first example, and I'll call this like the Great Kit Bash because we're going to use this guy here. So this is really easy to read what it's supposed to be. It's really easy to tell this is a Dark Apostle, but it also stands out as very clearly World Eaters themed, and it is very unique looking. So for those that don't know, Dark Apostle, he's supposed to be saying prayers. He's supposed to be offering up sacrifices to the dark gods, whichever god he's aligned with, and then he's meant to have two little kind of followers who just one's like carrying a book and one's carrying some like demonic incense, and they just help him do his prayers better. Well, World Eaters are berserkers. They're not going to be reading books. They're not going to be chanting, spells and things across the battlefield. They're just going to be getting in there and killing for the blood god. They're going to be killing, in such a way that is their offering to the dark god. So rather than giving him a book, we've given him double maces so that he can smack people around twice as good. And then for his disciples, again, he's not going to be reading a book. He doesn't need anybody carrying a book, but he probably would have some little skull shrine, and that would be a good offering to Khorne. But again, our World Eater's going to take the time to set this up and arrange it all neat and pretty? No. So what he does have is a little follower here who sets that up for him. He comes along behind him, he collects the skulls, collects the heads, and he makes the little shrines. And again, like it's super easy to read what this is. If you're any opponent, you're at a tournament or anything, you can say, "Yep, this is my Dark Apostle. These are his two little followers." It reads as what it's supposed to be. It's clear what it's supposed to be, but it's also extremely flavorful and very clearly World Eaters. He's got a demon skull helmet, bloodletter skull. It's very clear what it's supposed to be. There's not going to be any mistakes. They're on the correct size bases. All that is good and easy. Now, we'll look over at this Tyranid Harpy, and this is this was a situation of using everything that you have to make as many models as possible, but also make something that you are lacking in your army. Tyranids and Chaos both are super good armies for kit bashing because as a faction they offer that range of variation. Like, there's no limit to what there can be. There's an infinite number of Tyranid monsters. There's an infinite number of corrupted, weird chaos things. They can really be whatever you want, but it still has to make sense for what it's supposed to be representing. So for those that don't know, a Tyranid Harpy is a large flying monster for the Tyranids faction. It is meant to be on a large size base. As a flyer, it is fairly tall. So what I've done with this guy, this is part Hive Tyrant, part Trigon, and I I think there's a couple other. There might be another. The gun might be from Carnifex, but um, so to help represent that he is representing the flyer, again we've gone for the bigger base that he's supposed to be on. We've given him a much elevated height using these rocks here. I actually have a pin drilled all the way through them and into his tail to make him nice and stable. I say that and then he falls over. A harpy is meant to be dropping these little spore mines, so I've actually got 2 of them on the base here. So again, that's very clear that that's what he's doing. And they're actually meant to have a double one of these guns. He just has the one. So that could be one of those areas where you bend it a little bit to make your kitbash cohesive and make sense. There wasn't really an easy way to, because the guns that you get with these kits, they only go on one side. They've got one that's kind of the fuel line, and then one that's the gun itself, and there's not like an opposite way where the gun would be on this side. So you want your kitbash to look cohesive, but you want it to represent what it's supposed to be. It's the correct gun. He's just supposed to have 2 of them. I don't think any opponent's going to have a problem with that. And just like I don't think any opponent, because his wing is so high up, this is definitely the correct height for the model that it's representing. The body might be a little bit shorter. He's a flyer. He's not meant to be, he can't be obscured anyway. So that shouldn't be an issue with really anybody. So we're going to call this a good kitbash, not a great one, because there is some things that some people could have some slight problems with, like the fact that he doesn't have the second gun that he's supposed to. It's really easy to say, look, this is his gun. Just imagine he has 2 of them. I don't see anybody having an issue with it. But it's not 100% perfect. But it's pretty good. Like, most people will be able to not have an issue with it. Most people will be able to tell what it's supposed to be. Now we'll get to what I would call a bad kitbash. I personally like it a lot, but I'll slide this over here. More people could or would have an issue with this. This is kind of on the extreme end of kitbashing, because we've got a faction in the crew that is extremely niche. They have very, very few models, and if you want to have an all-crew army, you're going to have to bend a lot of rules, and you're going to have to scratch build or kitbash almost everything to have a playable army. This is my Cold Star Commander. I guess he could probably also be like a crisis suit or whatever, but I'm saying he's a Cold Star Commander. He's on a flyer. I'm imagining he can fly really fast. He has the, oops, getting stuck on the Harpy there. He's got the correct missiles. He's got a little melee weapon because as a commander, he can do a little bit of fighting, but the base is a little bit too small. He is significantly taller than a Cold Star Commander would be, and just the proportions are way different. For those that don't know, a Cold Star Commander would be like a big battle suit, maybe about this tall. Because he's not that much taller, but he is definitely on a little bit bigger of a base. So for friendly games, the games I play with my friends, I have an all-crewed army. Nobody has any issues with this. It's not like everybody's just happy to see the crewed on the table. It's a lot of fun. It's a cool looking model. I've got a custom Ripperdactyl here. I have green stuff sculpted a lot of the face. I've made a custom crewed Shaman Rider here. But for things like a tournament or any like official games like that, people are going to have some issues with that. It's not the right size base. If it's got auras or buffs or things like that, it's not going to be quite perfect. So that's something to think about when you're kit bashing. And I'm just going to kind of tie this all together. I'll move these back in here just so you can kind of see them all. When you're kit bashing, think about really clearly, what is your army? What are you trying to represent? Does it match your army, and does it match what it's supposed to be? Is it representative of the actual model? Does it have the war gear that the model is meant to have? And if it doesn't, how can you fit that in? How can you might have to bend a little bit of rules, but try to really get it as close as you can. If you have to model a little bit different, putting things on a taller base or bigger base to make the height close to what it should be, if you have to do some like get creative to make some sort of custom weapons that at least are close to what they should be. Most people will just be super happy to see you've got a unique and cool looking model, but it just eliminates some of the issues people can have with your custom stuff, and that would be just the absolute worst, right? Like, I mean, if you go somewhere and you've got your awesome custom model and things are a little bit different and somebody's giving you a really hard time about it, like I've said in the last video, like they're probably not that fun to play against anyway. But if you're, especially if you're going to tournaments and stuff, you should make an effort to make things at least close to what they're going to be. Like I said, we've got great, good, and probably bad. This definitely take to a GW tournament. You wouldn't have any issues. Very clear. This guy, kind of iffy, might be okay. This guy probably not. I would need to change the base, and maybe I might need to clip the flight stand a little bit, make them a little bit shorter, and stuff like that. And I definitely, like, if I was going to run this guy, he would have to have 2 missiles, and then I don't know, I'd have to pick 2 of the support systems or something. I certainly couldn't be giving him different weapons and things. So yeah, that's just kind of a little bit of advice, I guess, for when you're kit bashing, what you should try, what you should look at, and just a couple things to think about when you're going. I'm going to do another little video, I think, here shortly, just about the actual planning, like what you can do to plan out your kit bash, whether you're doing just one model or a whole army, things to look at, things to think about. All right, I think that's it for now. Thanks for watching. If you did, feel free to check out my Instagram for some better pictures of all these models. My phone camera is terrible. I am just getting used to this sort of filming and talking stuff, so I know that was a little bit of a ramble. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Zach from Average Joe Warhammer. Bye.